Hi guys, welcome back to ECG Insights. Today we're going to be looking at 3 ways to calculate heart rate on an ECG. We'll look at methods which can be used for both regular and irregular rhythms, and all of these methods will be based on an ECG printing speed of 25 millimeters per second, which is the standard printing rate. Now, although most ECG machines today will automatically calculate heart rate for you, it's always useful to be able to check this yourself just to make sure what the machine is telling you seems reasonable. So let's begin. So for the first method, we'll use the large squares on the ECG. Remember that each large square is 0.2 seconds. Now this method can only be used for regular rhythms. It's done by dividing 300 by the number of large squares between each QRS complex. Now the easiest way to do this is to find a QRS complex which lands at the beginning or end of a large square, then count the number of large squares until the next QRS complex. So here's an example ECG. You'll also need to make sure that you're measuring between the same point on each QRS complex, so either Q to Q, R to R, or S to S. So for this ECG, we can see that there are about 2.5 large boxes between each R wave, and 300 divided by 2.5 gives a heart rate of 125 beats per minute. Now, a little trick when you're using this method is that if you can remember 300, 150, 100, 75, 60, 50, 43, then you can get a rough idea of the heart rate just by calculating the large boxes between each QRS without having to do any maths. But remember that you can only use this method for regular rhythms, as the duration between each QRS complex will vary if the rhythm is irregular. Right, let's move on to the next method. So method number 2 uses the small squares. This method is better for providing accurate heart rates in very fast rhythms. So similar to the large square method, this method is only suitable for regular rhythms. It's performed by dividing 1500 by the number of small squares between each QRS complex. And similar to last time, it's a lot easier if we find a QRS complex which lands at the beginning or the end of a small square. And we also need to make sure we're measuring between the same waves on each QRS complex. So here's the same example ECG as before, and we can see that there are about 12 small squares between each QRS complex, and 1500 divided by 12 gives us 125 beats per minute again. Now let's move on to the final method. Right, so this method is based on a 6-second rhythm strip, which is 30 large squares. Now this method can be used for regular or irregular rhythms, and it's very simple. All we have to do is count the number of QRS complexes in the 6-second rhythm strip, then times that number by 10 to give the number of QRS complexes in 1 minute. So in this example, we've got a 6-second rhythm strip, or 30 large boxes, and I've counted 5 QRS complexes which are marked with red arrows. So 5 times 10 gives 50 beats per minute, and it's really as simple as that. So that's 3 ways to calculate the rate on an ECG for both regular and irregular rhythms. So that concludes today's video. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please subscribe to keep the page going, and I hope to see you again next time. So bye for now.